What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. For those returning to my channel, I am finally recovering from COVID and I'm able to come here and do a fresh new video for you guys. So thank you so much for having patience with me during this time. For those coming to my channel for the first time, thank you so much for joining. We have a hot video today, the trending hotkeys for January 2022. This is a video series I do once every month where we look at a top 5 of keys that are trending for the month for whatever reason that may be. And I'm going to tell you all right now. For January, Marvel is dominating. All right, before we get into the 5 books today, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. And I'm really officially able to wish you all a happy new year, a happy 2022. Started off crazy for me. Thankful for my health. Thankful to be here to make these videos for you guys today, though. So before we get into the books, though, one more thing as well. Remember, if you are in need of comic book supplies, please check out bcwsupplies.com and use the discount code JOURNOS to receive 10% off of your order, no matter how big or small the order. And you can use this code as many times as you want. It never expires. All right, let's get into these books, folks. All right, so the way we're going to count these books down, we're going to be looking at return on investment over the last 2 to 3 years. So the higher these books have increased in value, the lower on the list they're going to be. So the lower we go, the hotter these books are going to get. So let's check out book number 5. We have The Punisher #1, Volume 1. This is the 4-issue limited series volume. It is the first solo Punisher title. I was recently talking about this book a few months back about how Punisher really has a lot of similarities to Wolverine, just in terms of his cult following and also in terms of his first appearances and what those next best things are if the big books are out of reach. Now, there's probably a lot of different reasons that this book is making the list this month for January, and it's been hitting record high sales in multiple grades. But what I like to do is I like to look at current fair market values for certain grades. For this one, we're going to be looking at a 9.8 CGC current fair market value. Now, I always say take fair market value with a grain of salt because it's always a moving number. It can change day to day, week to week. But right now, this book is sitting at about $893 and a 9.8. Now, if we look at 3 years ago now, in 2019, fair market value was sitting at around $385. That is a 132% increase. That's absolutely solid. Current average raw sitting at about $83. Average raw, again, you guys know how to compute averages. You take up all the sales, add up the dollar amount, divided by how many books sold. It doesn't pertain to a specific grade. So you can look at this book that came out in, I believe, 86, and you can, or was it 87? 87, I believe. You can see that this is a mid-80s copper age books. $83, maybe you could find yourself a higher mid-grade around that value. That is just my guess off the top of my head. A lot of big things for Punisher. Like I said, I mean, the character himself has a cult following, and I really think probably there's a lot of spec going on right now for John Bernthal to return to the MCU, since we're seeing some other things happening. I won't give any details away for those that haven't seen certain TV shows or movies. I know there's a lot of speculation right now on the Punisher with his new series that he has coming out. I'm not going to really dive into that much. There's some controversy there, but the bottom line for me, I think this is a solid investment if you can't afford Punisher's first appearance. It is now a good time to buy. I definitely don't think that this book is like reached crazy heights where if you bought it now, you'd lose money in the long term. I would just always, like I always say, if you're in the market for it, be smart, be patient. This book, for me, again, personally, I stay away from 9.8s. I don't, the increment increase is so high right now, and the 9.8 frenzy is still so high that for me, it's just not worth it. I would rather go after certain books and try to find a high grade raw that I can press and clean and maybe send to get graded myself. Other than that, though, I'm not a stickler for 9.8 because if you want to talk about return on investment percentage wise, usually as books increase percentage wise, they're going to give you a return on investment that's similar in percentage for any grade. All right, let's move on to book number 4, though. And we have Thor 134, this first appearance of the High Evolutionary. It has been trickling around. I don't know if we have an official confirmation, so don't take my word for it. But we do have a casting for Guardians Volume 3, and it is now being rumored, according to my knowledge, that this casting is for the High Evolutionary. I don't know if we got an official exclusive announcement from the studio or from James Gunn or anybody involved with the movie. If you guys have heard anything, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I've been talking about this book for years now. I always felt the High Evolutionary was going to show up at some point in time in the MCU. Let's look at what this book is doing. Current CGC 7.5, fair market value sitting at $800. Just last year, $486. So it's almost doubled in value just in this last year. And of course, a lot of that is that hype for this casting for the Guardians 3 film. If we look at 3 years ago, it was sitting at 332. So that 3-year return on investment would have been 141%, with a current average raw sitting at $190. Now, is this a good time to buy this book? And again, I'm never here to tell you guys what to buy. You got to understand what you're getting into, have some love for the book, understand the risk involved, and you guys got to do what you do. Do your research, do your due diligence. But this is a book that I feel once we get a trailer, once we see the character, this book is going to increase. The big question mark for me in terms of right now is once we see this character, if indeed we see him in Guardians 3, I believe next year, right? Is he going to be a one-off? Now, I don't think that's going to happen personally. I think the High Evolutionary is hopefully going to have a long life in the MCU. I just understanding the character in the comic books, that's what it should be like. I'm not saying that he's going to be the next big bad that we build the next 10 years up on. No, but this character should at least be sticking around and having a play. It's some things that are going on at least, you know, over the next 5 to 8 years, even if it's not a big major baddie, right? But you always got to be cautious of it. Now, here's the thing with this book long term. This is a Silver Age key book that I think essentially was overlooked for a while in terms of the character. I think this book is still going to be a solid long-term investment. We're going to see new floors set, and regardless of what happens in the MCU, this book is going to be a solid long-term investment. Just be careful with buying around the movie hype, though. So you just never know at this point. You missed the bus on this one. It was really, really affordable, and now you're playing the guessing game if this character is going to really leave their mark in the MCU and be a namesake that really helps drive this book long term. Because if it's a one and done, I definitely see some cooling off, but then we're going to see it pick up long term for sure. All right, folks, book number 3 on the list today is Amazing Spider-Man number 194. First appearance of Black Cat. Now, this book there's been a lot of rumors with what Sony's been doing, or some projects that they might be working on, a female-led Spider-Man spin-off project that involves Black Cat and a bunch of other characters, some of them that are kind of questionable. Again, all rumors, right? But what I think is driving this book right now in the month of January is that if you guys saw No Way Home, spoilers here if you haven't, minor spoilers, but when we saw the cracks in the sky and some of the characters coming through the multiverse, it is being stated that one of the characters was Black Cat. What does that mean? Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.6 fair market value, $1,583. Where just last year it was sitting about 1,150. So that's a decent solid increase. Again, this book was hitting record highs in multiple grades this month as well. But looking at fair market value from 3 years ago, $552. That's a 3-year increase of 187%. Now remember, I always like to say, don't get caught up on record highs, especially in these higher grades. Don't get caught up on one sell and think that this is what you need to go buy this book for. It's only one sell, folks, in a very, very small sample size. And especially a Bronze Age 40% Bronze Age book in a 9.6 or even a 9.8 or whatever the case may be. All right, take heed. Current average raw sitting at $207. So, look, for me, this is really a blue chip key in my humble opinion. 40-cent Bronze Age book. Felicia Hardy is, kind of an anti-hero. She's been on both sides of the law, technically, but she is really a namesake that I think is here to stay outside of anything Sony or Marvel Studios, depending on if they decide to, team up with where we're going to see this character in live action films. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, guys. This is a book that's going to keep on increasing in value long term outside of movie spec or anything, right? But let's add that in here and talk about that and what that means. Again, it all depends. See, Sony right now, we don't know what's going on with Sony and the totality of the Spider-Man characters that they own the rights to. All right, and again, without giving too much away of what's happened in No Way Home, we don't know if Tom Hardy's Venom is gonna team up with Tom Holland, or if there might be something else going on with the Venom alien symbiote. All right, same thing with characters like this. We don't really know what's going on, and there's a love-and-hate relationship with what Sony does with the Spider-Man franchises. So where Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, really spiked up ASM 361, what it did to the Carnage character kind of, dropped the ball on that book. The book cooled off a little bit, but that's a I wouldn't call 361 yet quite a blue chip key, but it's a key that's going to stick around. It's set new floors. It's having a cool off period because those who bought into the hype because of the movie, were disappointed. But now the book's going to do what it does because it's a solid comic book to invest in. Same thing can happen with Black Cat, so be very careful, guys. We have no official announcement right now, so I still think there's good deals to be found on this book. Just be patient, be smart. All right, folks, we have 2 more books to talk about today, but before we go into these books, I want to take just 1 minute to talk about today's sponsor, PopCultureZone.com. PopCultureZone.com is an online shop focusing on hot new comics, including exclusive and incentive variants, CGC graded comics, and tons of other inventory, including pop culture toys and other collectibles, all at low and competitive prices. PopCultureZone.com ships all over the US, and if you are buying raw comics, they offer flat rate shipping of only $4.99. That's right, $4.99. Absolute craziness, right? And there's no taxes included, excluding New Jersey. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they hold a 100% positive feedback rating with over 8,000 completed transactions for this year alone. Make sure to check out the link to their website below, as well as their eBay link, so be sure to give them a follow there as well. All right, thank you again to Pop Culture Zone. Really, really appreciate them for sponsoring our videos every single month. We're going to get into book number 2 on the list. We got some Star Wars action here. Darth Vader #1 from 2015. This is the volume 1. This is the first appearance of Black Chrysanthemum. Now, if you guys have been watching the Boba Fett show, obviously Black Chrysanthemum showing up in the show. That's all I'm going to say. This book, if you guys were watching what was going on last week, anything with this character spiked like crazy. I mean, his origin story, and then his first cover appearance, and then, of course, his first appearance here. Now, let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $307. But just a few months ago, it was sitting at half that at $144. 3 years ago, $43. That's a 614% increase in value right now. Now, a current average raw is sitting at about $65, where average raw sales in just a month ago, we're sitting at anywhere from $10 to $20. Folks, should you buy this book right now? I would not touch this book right now unless you found it for what it was doing before this character showed up in the Boba Fett show. Now, look, the Star Wars hype is real. And I've talked about this a lot over the last year and a half, ever since we've seen what's been going on with books due to Mandalorian, and then we know, we got Ahsoka and all these things. Look, these Star Wars keys are here to stay. With these characters that really have, already built up a solid following to where we think that what's going on in the live action universe of Star Wars now can really hold. I mean, this book right here, though, doesn't fall into that category necessarily for me. Now, this book obviously was going for above cover price before. I mean, it is the first, solo Darth Vader series, so you have that to take into consideration. But if you look at what these other books are doing, like the couple origin books and the first cover for Black Chrysanthemum, it doesn't really add up. And to me, it speaks clear to a lot of FOMO going on, because a lot of these books were back issue cover price books outside of this one. But that's not to say I'm 100% right, or it's not to say that this character isn't going to have a solid role in either Boba Fett, or if we see the character team up with some other bigger characters. I mean, look, Chewbacca is a very popular and important character to Star Wars, and I'm not ever comparing them, but this character is a Wookiee, and what I'm trying to say is a Wookiee can become popular. Just because they're a Wookiee doesn't mean that they don't have that potential. So, do I feel like there's possible potential that this book can hold some type of value? Possibly, but just right now it's too early to tell, and I can just guarantee you that these books, people are on the FOMO train with these books, so I wouldn't pay over $20 for this book. Still to this day, raw. And I certainly would stay away from the 9.8s above $300, simply because, I mean, like I said, look at what they were doing last month. And there's probably a lot of these in high grade that you can still find raw, to where, you could send in to potentially get a 9.8. So be very careful if you guys are on the hunt for anything Black Chrysanthemum. But I do hope that the character has a solid future in the Disney Plus shows. All right, folks, the hottest book for the month of January is Doctor Strange 81, first appearance of Rentra. Now, okay, here we go. This book, we think that we saw the character in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer that we saw at the end of No Way Home. That's the case. Great. But look at these numbers, folks. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value is sitting at $650. Now, keep in mind, that's from 2 recent sales in January. That's it. 2 recent sales in January. Why? Because of what I just said about the trailer for Multiverse of Madness. Okay, the only thing I could find on this book in a 9.8 was from 5 years ago, where a 9.8 sold for $45. That's a 1,344% increase in value. Current average raw sitting at $44. Now, the only other thing that sold graded was a 9.6. I believe it was for like 200 and something. And I don't think there was anything even before that pre-January. Folks, please don't pay $600 for a graded book of this. Now, just to be clear here, this book was going for a little bit. I mean, this book was selling for anywhere from, and again, I don't know the grade. These are just raw sales, anywhere from $10 to close to $30. Over the the latter part of 2021. So I think there was some rumor due to a casting and the possibilities of all the characters that could show up in the next Doctor Strange film. So the book was moving a little bit, and if we do see this character again, it can keep these values up for a little bit. But this is one of those characters that I don't see it holding. Now, will this book ever be a dollar bin book or a $3, $4, $5 book? Maybe not. Maybe not. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The one thing right now in our day and age of having instantaneous information at our fingertips, it's not just because of movies, but movies help too because we get introduced to characters with the movies, and we go back to the comic books. But we also have apps like Key Collector or databases like Cover Price. And because of the internet and because of YouTubers and everybody talking about these books, we actually start learning and more. And the average Joe collector is becoming more familiar with characters that weren't really, that known before, but now they're becoming known, and it's driving a organic demand for these characters as well. So I can absolutely see this book being, a $20-$25 book in a high grade raw copy. A $650 9.8 book though? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And here's the thing, nobody cared about grading this book before. So again, and I've talked about these books, especially, I know this is a mid 80s Copper Age book, so it's not a modern book, but still, I guarantee there's a good amount out there that now that there's hype around, watch, people are going to be sending their books into CGC. And with the way CGC is, how long they're taking on books, people sending them in might not get it back from 6 to 8 months to 10 months from now. And maybe the character doesn't show up, or the character's one and done, or now we don't care as much because of the movie hype. And everyone starts getting these 9.8 CGC books back. And everyone's throwing them on the market at once. And there's a bunch there that nobody wants to pay $600 for, or even $500, or even $400, or even $300, or even $200. Be very careful, folks. Very careful. $650 blows my absolute mind. This is one of those that, go, if you really want it in your collection, go try to find a copy in your back issue bin, hopefully for single digits. But just be careful, guys. Don't let the FOMO win. In 2022, we got to be smarter buyers, folks. We have to be. But that's for another video. Those are the books today, folks. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Again, these are all based on sales, not for any other reason. Before we go today, though, I do got to give a big shout out to all of my Patreon channel members. Thank you guys so much for sticking around into 2022. And, hopefully some big things in the next couple of months. Due to me being out with COVID, I have some catching up to do. I have some contests to give as well for my YouTube channel members. So thank you to all of my YouTube channel members as well. If you guys are interested in becoming a YouTube channel member, it's only $1.99 a month, and you can join by clicking that join button below. So again, thank you to all my supporters, to all my viewers. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please take some time to do so. Be well, everyone. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time.